Alright, I know me and Guapo spent a lot of time last night live on the Google Hangout talking about all the people that have just been fired, just walked out, just, caused themselves some controversy, some scandal, if you will. We've lost a lot of people in the WWE in the past month or so, but do you think we could have squeezed two more? And by two more, I mean No Way Jose and Nia Jax. Oh yes.
There's gonna be a fight tonight!
What's going on, everybody? It's your buddy, it's your pal Spaz Phoenix, the YWC Reality Check, here with your NXT review for May 25th, 2016. We are steamrolling, are we not, to the next takeover, which is going to be on a Wednesday. It's going to be in the, I almost said the Impact Zone, the Full Sail arena there, so it's not going to have the same pop as the other takeovers do, but it is shaping up to be a pretty good card. We'll talk about that at the end. We open up with William Regal in the back, letting us know that Bayley is injured, so we are not getting Bayley versus Asuka at TakeOver. What we are getting is a triple threat match tonight, Alexa Bliss versus Carmella versus Nia Jax, for the #1 contendership for that spot at the pay-per-view. Now, you all know what I think of Nia Jax, and Carmella is kind of green and kind of in my books. There is no way, with how over Asuka is, there is no way they're not going to give this match, this #1 contendership, this pay-per-view spot to my buddy Guapo's girl, Alexa Bliss. Is there? We'll get to that later on. Open up, first match of the night. Long match, too, for a 1-hour show. Gargano and Ciampa, who you guys know I'm really becoming fans of, versus TM-61. Two guys from Australia, I think, who were just like, I think they did a bit of a package on them, interview on WWE Facebook page, I think, and then they showed a backstage interview. So they're putting a little bit of production into these guys, so I figure they're going to be two guys that are something to watch, but they just sort of put them out there like, here's these guys. And they were talking more about them than Ciampa and Gargano, which is it's an interesting one, because as I started this match, as in the first little bits of this match, it was one of those, technically the match is great. All four guys are putting their work in. All four guys really know what they're doing. But I don't have a reason to care. You will see as the match goes on. I still don't know anything about these two guys, Miller and Thorne, I think it is. But towards the end of the match, I really start wanting to see more of them. There's one guy, I think it's Thorne. I'm going to get the names mixed up because it's a new team. But he's the one with all the tattoo work on his chest and on his back, who's a little on the, the twitchy, crazy, hyper crazy side, which is cool. If you're a wrestler, you're not sure if you're going to get over it, just act a little more crazy. We will talk about that later on when we get to other people that are dressed like Japanese Michael Jackson. Anyways, Ciampa and Miller chain wrestle to start, takedown by Ciampa and a tackle by Miller. Collar and elbow tie-up by Thorne and Gargano. Gargano works over the arm snapmare, and a double stomp by Thorne is really crisp. Really dirty looking wishbone from TM-61. Apparently 61 is the country code if you're calling home to Australia. They said that in their interview on Facebook like a week ago. I think I've got that correct. Stomps by Miller, atomic drop by Miller, and a back elbow by Thorne. Front face lock by Thorne and a front slam. Chops from Ciampa to Miller, and a chop battle ensues. Standing moonsault fist drop combination by TM-61 as we go to commercial break. These guys, I will say, and we'll get into it again in a second, these guys have some pretty interesting combination move, like double strike type thing, where one guy's hitting a full-fledged moonsault, the other one's just dropping a fist. You got the spectacular and the mundane, and together it works. If you picture the Hardy Boys, when Matt Hardy used to do the simple leg drop and Jeff would come off with the leg drop off the top, the spectacular and the mundane, together it worked. It also made an identity between the two. When you got a team, they're brothers, in the Hardy Boys case, they were brothers. They kind of dressed them the same to start off with, give them a little bit of individual character. Matt's the ground guy, Jeff's the aerial guy, and if that's what they're doing with these guys, that's a good step in the right direction. You don't want to have guys come out like, I don't know, the headbangers back in the day, where for a while I didn't know which one was which, but then I was a kid and I didn't really care. Coming back from the commercial break, we've got Thorne riding a headlock on Ciampa. Slingshot spear by Gargano is one of the prettiest things that this team does, I do have to say. Follows it up with a low dropkick. Russian leg sweep into a ground tarantula by Gargano. Picture the tarantula that Yoshihiro Tajiri used to do without the ropes. Basically, he locks him up on the ground. It looks really good. And you see the guy consciously, you can tell that he's, I can't move this arm, I can't move this arm, gotta move the legs. So there's actually a thought process, so it looks real. It's great. Corner chops by Gargano and Ciampa, and a headlock by Ciampa. Jawjacker by Thorne. Both men trade punches for a long time. Huge backdrop by Thorne, who tosses Ciampa out onto Gargano, which is a nice little thing. Back body drop neckbreaker combination by TM-61 is dirty. Should have been the finish of the match, in my opinion. I'm pulling for Ciampa and Gargano in this match, but that back body drop neckbreaker combination should have been the end of the match. Again, it's one of those feed neckbreaker scenarios where the vaudevillains have been doing it recently with that powerbomb neckbreaker. Go back to the Evolution days. Batista and Randy Orton tried to work out a Batista bomb RKO type thing. It's one of those where if one guy's moving faster than the other one, your opponent's going to get broken in half, and it's going to be bad. Speaking of bad, we got a suicide dive by Gargano and a knee lift by Ciampa and a double boot by Ciampa and Gargano for the win. These guys won the match. They are the established guys. You know, you got this brand new team that lost but still looked fucking great. Gargano and Ciampa stayed in the ring for a second, and I thought they were going to do sort of like the indie ROH, you know, show of respect, handshake of honor, whatever the fuck it is that they do. They didn't do that. But they did give them a nod, like a nod of respect, like a nod of welcome to NXT, you know, good job, see you next time type thing, as Corey Graves said on commentary. Even as they're coming up the rampway, they're pointing back at the ring. It's like, hey, look at these guys, almost doing the Scott Hall thing with the gestures of respect, which I think is really cool. Because apparently these guys have a following. Apparently there's an underswell for these guys, TM-61. The name is a bit unfortunate, but it is what it is. Great opening match. Like I say, went into it not caring at all. Went into it being like, I like Tommaso Ciampa and Johnny Gargano, put them up against somebody that I care about so we can have a good match. I proved myself wrong by the end of the match when I'm now invested in this new tag team, which means NXT's doing its job at the end of the day. Sorry if I sound out of breath. I speak quickly. I've been talked about this before in my comment section. I've addressed it with you guys here in video. But in addition to that, I'm not a small guy. It is summer. I'm hot as fuck, and I don't deal with that very well. So if I sound huffy and puffy and like I'm trying to rush through this, it's because I want to crank my fan back up. And I can't do that while I'm recording because it's loud as hell and you wouldn't be able to hear me. Moving on. Also drinks with lots of ice. We get a promo package for the Joe and Balor cage match that we're going to get at the next TakeOver. It's good. The one thing I will say about NXT is they are very short, but they do get repetitive with their video packages somewhat. Backstage, Nia Jax brags about breaking Bayley in half so that she doesn't get a title shot. Tries to step up to Bayley, starts bullying her around. Carmella comes into the mix. Alexa Bliss comes into the mix. There's a whole bunch of shit talking. Not much happens. Nia Jax should not be able to talk ever. And we move on. We see a promo package for a guy that's going to debut soon on NXT. The entire promo package is a luchador watching his own matches and very slowly unleashing his mask. Now, if that means he's going to wrestle unmasked in NXT, fine, wonderful. But it made me think of when people were getting ready for El Generico to debut in NXT, and then they were pissed off that he was unmasked on the NXT roster as Sami Zayn, as we know him now. If that is the case, I don't know who this guy is. I'm going to try and pronounce his name. I'm going to butcher it. I will say I'm sorry in advance. It's Andrade Cien Almas. He's actually got a pretty decent looking mask too. It's black and white. It's kind of got like a shadowy effect on it. But if it's somebody who's well known as a luchador, wherever he's from, and he's going to show up unmasked on the NXT roster, it could meet with the same criticism, is what I'm trying to say. Aries comes out for a promo. I love Aries on the mic, but NXT's not really known for its long, drawn-out promo segments, is it? He comes out, he talks about being the best, he talks about proving it all over the world, talks about the fact that when he came to NXT and made his debut, other people were focusing on other people's debuts, you know, calling out Nakamura without saying his name type thing. But he says, I want the winner of Joe versus Balor. I want my shot at the NXT Championship. That's how I'm going to prove how great I am, how I'm going to prove I'm the best. He goes in this big, long, a bit of a tangent about the difference between being great and being the best. He says, you know, you can be the best until somebody comes along who's better. That's why I just call myself great. But the more you think about that, the more you're just saying, like, okay, he doesn't want to be the best. He just wants to be one of the greats as opposed to the best. So the promo, in its language, wasn't the greatest. Delivery is awesome. Aries is good. Even as a babyface, Aries is kind of good at being an arrogant prick. So it's good. Nakamura comes out. He's got one line. It's very simple. He says the NXT Championship will not go to greatness. It will come home with the King of Strong Style. Then Regal comes out, announce... all the way through Aries' promo, by the way. Huge Nakamura chance, obviously. When Regal announces that it's going to be Nakamura versus Austin Aries at TakeOver, we don't get Aries chance or Nakamura chance. We get TakeOver chance. And that's kind of cool. That's kind of like the fact when there's a cool match going on, sometimes you don't have people getting cheered for, you have NXT cheered for. When TNA was good, you got the same thing in TNA. Back in the ECW days, you used to get that. You used to get product that was so good, you weren't even cheering for individual people. You were cheering for the company as a whole. I'll tell you something. As much as I stick up for WWE, WWE don't get that. So they're cheering for the name of the pay-per-view because it's already shaping up to be really great. And it's going to be really great later on tonight when Alexa Bliss wins the triple threat match and she goes on to face Asuka. Right? Right. No Way Jose fought some jobber and won, and I don't care. I refuse to devote any of the time of my videos to No Way Jose because it's lame as fuck. Here is where I will say there is a huge hypocrisy with NXT, with some NXT fans. NXT can do no wrong, which is why everybody's willing to say, oh, look, this guy, he's fun, he's entertaining, da-da-da-da. Bullshit. If Creative put this guy on Raw next Monday, you would rip it to shreds. And I will not give them the yellow blanket to hide under that it's happening on NXT. This is lame. His finishing move is a wind-up pitch punch. And that's not funny. And he looks like Kofi Kingston from 2009. He came out of New Day's Time Machine. More promo packages for Joe versus Balor in the cage, which is nice. Next week, we're going to get Aries versus Elias Sampson, which means Aries pissed off somebody because Sampson sucks and nobody cares. We get a promo for a Joe and Balor interview that's going to be hosted by Corey Graves next week. Alexa Bliss versus Carmella versus Nia Jax for the #1 contendership of the NXT Women's Championship is your main event. Starts off by Alexa bailing, proving that she's the smartest one in the whole fucking room. Collar and elbow tie-up by Carmella and Jax. Side headlock by Carmella and a slam by Jax. Hip check twice by Jax in the head to Carmella. Is fine. She's big. She's got a big ass. She's going to use it. Congratulations. You're related to Rikishi. Moving on. We'll go to commercial break, or the NXT equivalent of a commercial break. Comeback, slam by Jax on Carmella, and a head scissor by Carmella that was really awkward because of the size difference. Jax eats post and falls out of the ring. She's selling outside for a while. We get Carmella versus Alexa Bliss, which is something I don't mind at all. Bliss jumps Carmella as soon as the head scissor goes down and just nails multiple really, really stiff takedowns on her, which is... Alexa Bliss is so fucking good. The second time around, when they healed up Emma and they just made her like this fucking nasty bitch after the bubbly babyface Emma, they recognized it, they moved it back up to the main roster. Alexa Bliss, I'm sorry, Hot Heel Emma is Hot Heel Emma, but Alexa Bliss as a heel is infinitely better. Infinitely better. Kicks by Bliss and she walks on Carmella's back because it's fucking great. Power slam by Bliss and a choke takedown. Choke takedown by Bliss and a moonsault double knee stomp by Bliss. Elbow drop by Jax on Carmella. Sparkle splash on Jax by Bliss while she's distracted. Jax suplexes Bliss and Carmella. She's the biggest person in the match. You have to have that obligatory power spot. But let's be real, on the main roster, this is the kind of spot they would give to the Big Show and nobody would care. like I said before, just because it's under the yellow banner doesn't make it any cooler because it happened on NXT. Nia Jax, okay, you can lift things because you're twice. Nia Jax on her own is twice as big as her two opponents together. So yes, she can lift both of them up. Fantastic. Super kick on Bliss by Carmella. Bliss boots Jax. Suicide dive by Carmella on Jax is way more impressive than I give Carmella credit for. So let me give the credit to her now. The suicide dive by Carmella was fucking sweet in this match. Rolling clotheslines by Carmella on Bliss. A headbutt to Carmella by Jax. Backpack sleeper by Carmella on Jax. And a top rope Thez press. But a simple leg drop by Nia Jax gets the very undeserving win. And she has a stare down with Asuka to end the show. Here's the deal. Alexa Bliss should have won this, hands down. She's the best heel in that brand. On NXT, there is nobody, male or female, that is a better heel than Alexa Bliss. And yes, I am saying that unequivocally. The most over woman on their roster, other than Bayley, who's injured, and you don't want to go face versus face anyway, is Asuka. Alexa Bliss versus Asuka sells itself. I would have settled for Carmella because then you could just have the uphill battle of the newbie versus the veteran. That's a story you could tell. I don't give a shit about Asuka versus Nia Jax. I really don't, and I hope there's a run-in. I hope this match doesn't happen. They've got one more week to change this up, and I really hope it doesn't happen. As a whole, though, TakeOver in 2 weeks or whenever it is on the 8th, I believe. I believe it's on the 8th. I'm not going to bother checking. Other than the women's match, does look pretty good. You got Nia Jax versus Asuka for the women's title, which is eh. You got the Revival versus American Alpha. We know what they can do. This is a rematch. This will be fantastic. American Alpha are over as fuck. They can do no wrong. Aries versus Nakamura is the reason that anybody is watching this show if they're not watching it for the main event. And of course, the main event is Samoa Joe versus Finn Balor in a cage, and that's a story that's been built over several months. So that, again, is another story that sells itself. We're setting up for a great night of wrestling, for sure. Nia Jax shouldn't be in that match, and No Way Jose should not be on my TV. Other than that, NXT's firing on all cylinders, but fire those two fuckers. I'm just saying. Anyways, I hope you guys don't think I'm being super bitter, because I'm really not. NXT is fantastic. I am looking forward to this show. Hopefully, I'm going to either preview or review it with my friends Guapo and Kristen, who you guys are, I'm sure by now, very, very used to. I will be doing a video. It won't be tonight, and it won't be tomorrow night, because tomorrow night I will be doing Ask the Phoenix. I will be doing a video addressing the SmackDown situation, the brand split, the move to live SmackDown, and how all of those changes will affect this channel. I will either do that video on Friday once I get a few things sorted out, or sometime over the weekend. So if you guys are really interested on how that change is going to affect this channel, tune in over the next couple of days. Please, you got one more day. Toss your questions in for Ask the Phoenix. I will be answering those tomorrow night, so tune in for that. And I've gotten a wash of subscribers over the past couple of days. A lot of fans on Twitter associated with the Taz show that I watch a lot have been retweeting the hell out of some of my videos. So I do want to say to that contingent on Twitter, you guys have been great. Thanks for the embracing of what I do here. Take the time, take the minute or two to add a couple of questions to the Q&A if you so choose. But until then, till tomorrow night when I do a Q&A, if I still have a voice, that is, ha ha ha, no, I'm doing it anyway. I've been Spaz, your YWC reality check. Subscribe up there, talk down there, start a conversation, keep all these conversations going. Don't be a stranger. I will talk to each and every last one of you later, but for right now, I am tagging out. Bye, guys.
Freak like me.